to talk about my favorite tools I like to have by my sewing machine. There's lots of notions I like to use, but these are my top favorites. So we're going to start with the binding ruler. We have several videos on our YouTube channel showing you how to use this. These are tools that we make. We make a 2.5 inch size and a 2.25 inch size. And I keep these with a little mat and this little rotary cutter by my machine, and I'm able to use them to just finish the tails on my binding so they turn out accurately every time without having to measure them. I will put a link below on all of these tools, but this is the first one I want to talk about. It's the best way to finish your bindings. The next tool that I love to have by my machine is my cutting gizmo. As quilters, we all do chain piecing, which is sewing pieces one after another with a little thread in between them. And instead of sitting there with scissors and cutting them, you can use the cutting gizmo. It has a straight edge blade in there, which is actually recessed, so you can't cut yourself. And you take the pieces and you pop them over the blade. And it goes very quickly, very easily. Imagine having 100 of these. You could just go pop, 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 and you're done. So there is the cutting gizmo. Love this tool. We usually call it the guillotine around the studio, but it is called the cutting gizmo. I have 2 pairs of scissors I always have at hand. These little guys I got when I got to go to Bernina 10 years ago, and I keep having them sharpened. I love the size of them. They are perfect for snipping my threads when I'm sewing, when I have a stray thread, when I'm blanket stitching. I use it to trim all my leader threads. So having a small pair of scissors is vital. And then I love my gingers. I have pairs all over the studio, but this pair stays by my machine. I love the pretty design on it, but I have these also sharpened by a knife sharpener, so they stay very, very sharp for me. And they are perfect to have if I'm doing a mitered corner. I can just cut off the excess. Anything big where these guys would really kind of be pushing through the fabric, I grab those. So we all like to think we're perfect sewers and we never make any mistakes, but I have several tools that I need to have because I do make mistakes. The first one is the Seam Fix Seam Ripper. This is a traditional seam ripper, but it has the rubber edge that you can use to pull all your little tails away. I like this one because they're very, very sharp. It's a nice size for my hand, but it is the rubber tip that makes me love this tool more than any. You could just break right through. They're very, very sharp, and it's great to have for all the little stuff. But say I had to rip this in half, rip it apart. I didn't want to sit there and rip it with the seam ripper. I use the Zippy Ripper. These are wall trimmers that we sell through our website, thewhimsicalworkshop.com. They're small. They only have 5 little teeth. Again, very dull. You can't cut yourself on them. But the bigger heads on the cutters can cut through your fabric. This one can if you hold it on the fabric long enough, but I have very, very few instances where I actually cut the fabric. So how it works, and it's going to get loud, is you turn it on, you have the bottom piece on the table, you rest your hand on the bottom piece to support it, and you lift up the top piece. Do not pull the top piece because especially if you're doing triangles and they're biased, you don't want to stretch it. You're literally just holding it and guiding it as the Zippy Ripper does its work. So I'm going to turn it on, it's going to get buzzy, just a second. And you just rip along. And you can see how fast I can rip this seam apart. I may not take any sewing notions with me to teach at a quilting class when I'm on the road. I always take one of these. It takes 1 AA battery. It lasts forever. It is a great tool, and it's a must if you do ever make a mistake. Unless you're a perfect quilter, you don't need it then. And so then what you can do is on the back is 1 thread. And you can pull that thread and all the tails will come out. But here's the thing, if you have a couple that don't come out, that's why I have this guy, he just rolls right around long and takes them out. So between the two, I can rip anything quickly and easily. So that is the Zippy Ripper in the Seam Fix Seam Ripper. Next I want to talk about thread. Can't sew without thread. I love to store my bobbins in these little rings. They look like little baby teething rings. I like it because it keeps most of the threads in. I don't have a zillion tails hanging out. They stack nicely. So I put them in here, and that's how I keep my bobbin. So I also have these little tulip bobbin clips. I think these are called peels, and these are the bobbin holders. They all are sold separately, and I have them in a little container. We do not sell these, but I will put a link below where you can get them. And what you can do with those is, if you have a thread that matches your bobbin, so say I needed to put this away, you take this piece, goes in the top of your spool. The bobbin will fit on top. You can take the little clip to hold it so it doesn't go anywhere, and then the peel can go around it to hold your thread in place. I realize you don't really need these peels for Aurifil threads, which are my favorite threads that I use, because Aurifil designs their spools so these bottoms come off. So when you're done with your thread, you can just wrap it around the bottom, put the cap back on, and that'll hold your thread in place. I have lots and lots of colors of Aurifil threads, but my favorite ones to have for basic sewing are these 4 colors. I buy these in boxes of 6 because I go through them so much. I have white and I have black. I have a very pearl gray, and I have a cream. Those are my 4 basics. So the color numbers, if you're an Aurifil person, is 2000, 2600, 2692, and 2024. For most of my quilting, I use 50 weight thread. You could use 40 weight, which is a little bit heavier. I sometimes will pull that out for applique, minky. If I'm dealing with a heavier fabric, I will go to a heavier thread. I do love Aurifil. It is 100% cotton thread. You can spin a ton on your bobbin because it's so low lint. It's almost lint free. And I will do videos, some more videos on Aurifil and why I love it. But for today, that's the Aurifil thread. Other tools I keep by my machine: you need to keep your machine clean. So I always have my case of sewing needles, which I covered in our first video on the sewing area. And I did cover these as well, but they're worth talking about again. I have my sewing machine oil. Always make sure you use the brand oil that goes with your machine. Don't buy an off-brand. Usually the oils are calibrated to work with those machines, so make sure you get a high-quality sewing machine oil. That's what keeps these guys running. I go with the cheapy little lint brush to clean out my machine, and then I have found these little mascara brushes, which are free at makeup stores. They're sample ones, so you could try your own mascara, but I picked up 2 of them, and these work. This one has a little funky head. This one is your traditional kind. I use these to clean out my bobbin case when I pull out that area, and I clean out all around there. You'll be amazed how the lint just sticks to these. And you don't need more than 1 because you can just easily rinse this off and clean it. So those are for cleaning. The last couple tools I like by my machine is the purple thing. These things have been around forever. When I first started quilting, it was the first tool they told me to buy, and I use it to guide things through the machine. I use it to poke out corners on pillows. It has this little slot. You could put a ribbon to wear it around your neck if you're using it for hand or needle turn applique. And this little guy on the end is a 1/4 inch guide, so you can use it to check your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Let's see how good I was here. You can lay it on there, and it'll give you a 1/4 inch either way. And it's great to have this little thing because I use it for a lot of stuff, but sometimes if I'm teaching and I need to check someone's guide, I will just use the purple thing to check it. So purple thing is a tool I can't do without. I have one of those. You'll see in my other videos, I have one in the sewing area, one at the cutting area, and one at the machine because I use them a lot. And the last thing we need for quilting near our machine is our pins. You may have seen these. These are fairly new to the market. These are the magic pins. We carry the blue size, which is this size. They come in this little carrying case, so it's nice for travel. You can just throw this in your bag and take it with you and keep all your pins together. But I love these industrial magnetic pin cushions, and part of the reason I love them is because I can just do that. So if I'm sewing away and I'm dumping them on the table, I'll just flip this over and I have them there. The other thing I will do is sometimes I'll be sewing and I'll toss them, and they just go to the magnetic pin cushion. I love the industrial pin cushion and these pins. We carry the pins on our website. I'll put a link below for both, and the magnetic pin cushions, I'll just give you a link where you can get one. So that is a rundown of my favorite tools I like to have by my sewing machine. I hope you found this helpful. If I missed a tool that you think I need to have by my machine, let me know. And if you've enjoyed this video, just leave a comment or make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel to see more videos like this. So happy quilting, and I hope this helps you.